Now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akuga as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome once again to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular anchor, Mamode Akuga. Recently, the federal government restated its commitment to end gas flaring by the year 2020, at which time it will have commenced full utilization of the country's abundant gas reserves for national economic growth. Under the Nigerian gas flare commercialization program, the government intends to use gas as an alternative to crude oil, which is gradually losing relevance in global energy circles. The roadmap to Nigeria's transition to a gas-driven economy is the focus of our first issue on today's package. Isoko land is definitely a place reckoned with in the history of crude oil and gas production, having been the second spot where crude oil was explored and exploited on a commercial scale. Today, however, the Isoko people are decrying marginalization and injustice, which they want addressed with political appointments. We bring you a special report on the demands of the Isoko ethnic nationality in the course of the program. Still on matters of political inclusiveness and participation, women in the Niger Delta have in recent times intensified demands to be part of the decision-making process at all levels of government. Our next issue in today's package is centered on what it takes to give women a voice in Nigeria's oil-rich region. And finally on the program is a report on the sighting of the headquarters of the Nigeria Content Development Board in Yenegoa, Bayelsa State capital. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, determined to make a difference.
Welcome back. I'm glad to know you're still there. In case you're just joining us, it's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. The federal government recently hinted that it has concluded arrangements to offer 178 gas flare sites in the Niger Delta to investors to harness wasted gas for use in the domestic economy. Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachukwu, at a function organized recently in Yenegoa, the Bayelsa State capital, reiterated the federal government's resolve to vigorously pursue the objectives of its new gas policy.
The planned handover of 178 gas flare sites to private investors is part of government's effort to utilize flared gas for economic growth. Already, the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources has received over 225 statements of qualifications from interested bidders and is set to move on to the next phase of the Nigerian gas flare commercialization program. Under this program, the federal government also intends to put a final stop to the flaring of gas in the oil fields of the Niger Delta by the year 2020.
It is being able to capture all the stranded gas, make sure that there's enough domestic obligation. Most times oil companies are resisting it. It's easy to just produce your gas, put it on board a vessel, just like crude, and send it out. But we can't keep doing that when the country does not have power. It's disgraceful.
Dr. Kachiko, while admitting that effective utilization of the country's vast gas reserves was hampered by inadequate infrastructure, noted the gas flare commercialization project would require private sector participation to succeed.
We need to get the private sector to go in, build necessary infrastructure, toll it. They will make money, the government will make money, the private sector will grow. We have actually started the virtual delivery with our two companies that were already far gone. They finished their phase one, did very well, they're getting to phase two. Those are the kind of things we both need to sit down and see how do we bring that together, supplying gas through a virtual system that is consistent and reliable, and at the same time be able to charge the right prices for those power once you get to those individuals.
The federal government's effort to commercialize gas and stop gas flaring by the year 2020 is commendable for obvious reasons. Going by the current trends on the global scene, gas has become an alternative to crude oil, with vast opportunities capable of transforming the Niger Delta socio-economic landscape. The federal government in September last year gazetted its gas master plan with the introduction of a new legislation known as the Flare Gas Prevention of Waste and Pollution Regulations of 2018. Among other objectives, the legal framework seeks to reduce the environmental and social impact of gas flares, protect the environment, prevent waste of natural resources, and create social benefits for the oil-producing communities. As provided in the regulation, the Nigerian gas flare commercialization program will be implemented with the introduction of higher penalties for the flaring of greenhouse gases in the country. To this end, the tax imposed on every 1,000 standard cubic feet of gas flared has been increased from a meager 10 naira to 720 naira for companies producing 10,000 barrels of oil in a day. And for companies producing less than 10,000 barrels of crude oil, a minimum of 180 naira has been imposed on each 1,000 cubic feet of gas flared in their operations. In the case of continuous flagrant breaches, as the regulation stipulates, there is a possibility of suspension of or outright termination of a producer's license. The federal government recently stated that it has achieved 75% compliance level and hopes to meet the balance of 25% through its gas flare commercialization and liquefied petroleum gas penetration programs. Obviously, the federal government's policy on gas utilization is most welcome, but would require creativity for its successful implementation. Perhaps the Trinidad and Tobago gas model offers a practical example of how Nigeria can overcome the challenge of gas underutilization. Consul General of Antigua and Barbuda in Nigeria, Ambassador William Wallace, says despite having the least gas deposit in the world, Trinidad and Tobago has effectively commercialized gas to benefit its citizens. In this tiny island country, gas is first supplied to individual homes and industrial parks to stimulate the economy before it is exported to earn foreign income.
Whether it's ammonia, methanol, urea, etc., we have been utilizing the gas for development of the country, first and foremost. And what we export, which you'd see in the model that I gave you, is the rest. Nigeria has it the opposite way around. You are exporting and then looking at what is left to then utilize industrially. No, Nigeria should be utilizing fully all the gas that they have, and they should stop the flaring, penalize heavily those who are still flaring gas, and capture that gas and make use of it for not only the benefit of the Niger Delta, but for the country as a whole. Because your power should be driven by gas. Trinidad's power, 99.9%, is driven by gas. There is no home owning a generator like you have to here, right? Electricity is supplied, and it is constant, and it is there, and that is because of the utilization of gas. So that is part of the Trinidad model on gas, where Trinidad is driven by power and energy through gas, and industrialization through gas. Nigeria has the opportunity, with so much reserves of gas, to be the economy of Africa and probably even the world. Russia has a bit more than you, probably Saudi Arabia, but there's no reason why Nigeria should not utilize fully their gas. The Trinidad model on gas has shown that we have taken control of the transportation of the gas. From the time the gas is associated with the oil, we take control. So it's transported straight through our own transportation system, our own pipelines, through NGC, National Gas Pipeline, and goes directly to an industrial park where all the facilities and the industries are powered by this gas. It is the end, what we'll call the dregs, that is exported.
In an exclusive interview with Inside the Niger Delta, Ambassador Wallace underscored the need to train youth in the Niger Delta in the transportation and delivery of gas. Such a training, he said, would transform the youths into gaspreneurs and create wealth for them.
At the moment, the gas, you're waiting to put down and lay pipelines, etc., to transport the gas, right? Yes. But we have a solution. I have a solution. As a matter of fact, with my associates, we can provide virtual pipelines, right, which will be trucked, and these Niger Delta youths could be trained with the trucking, with the gas gathering, and the gas delivery. And that is making them gaspreneurs. So they can form themselves into cooperatives. The Niger Delta can now, or Amnesty Office, or the Niger Delta Commission, can put the funds, which are there already for them, for empowering them, to us to do the training and to the supply of the equipment and the machinery to take the gas and deliver it wherever they have to deliver it, whether it's to NNPC or whether it's to industrial parks or whether it's to manufacturing parks, etc., and that could be done. So they don't even have to be blowing up pipelines, because there's no pipelines to blow up in the meantime. Whilst you're taking 5-10 years to lay down pipes, etc., we can be moving the gas virtually.
The federal government's gas flare commercialization program also has a self-imposed target of ending gas flares by 2020, 10 years ahead of the 2030 deadline issued by the United Nations to phase out gas flares. It is, however, important to emphasize that unless the federal government takes practical steps to achieve the goals it has set for itself in this direction, its gas flare commercialization policy would most likely go the way of previous laudable policies grounded by poor implementation.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Everything are dying. The whole fish has gone.
From that very good health, we are now seeking.
Oil is not supposed to be on the surface. Oil is supposed to be inside the pipe.
For them, it is business. But for us, it is our livelihood, our lives, our children, and our future.
After over 40 years of waiting, leaders of Isoko Nation say it's now time for the government to appoint one of their own as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. An organization, Isoko Equity Group, says President Muhammadu Buhari must use the opportunity of his second term to correct what they describe as gross marginalization of the Isoko Nation in all facets of our polity. They say despite being major oil producers and income earners for Nigeria, they have always been removed from the decision-making process at the federal level, a situation which they say has left them perpetually marginalized and practically forgotten in the sharing of the national cake. 10 ministerial appointments have been made from Delta State since 1999, and none of them is from the Isoko ethnic nationality. Of the 3 senatorial districts in Delta State, Delta North has had 4 ministerial appointments, including the current Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Ibe Kachukwu. Delta Central has had 3 ministerial appointees, while Delta South, to which Isoko Nation belongs, has also had 3 ministerial appointments, one to the Shekiris in the person of Dr. Roland Orisha-Jafo, and the other 2 to the Ijos, represented by Alawi Broderick Bozimo and Elder Godsday Orubebe, the Honorable Minister for Niger Delta Affairs in the Goodluck Jonathan administration. The Isoko Equity Group wondered why, despite being major oil producers, successive governments have continuously left them out of appointments into the Federal Executive Council.
I want to say the marginalization of Isoko is extreme. It is an experience that no ethnic group in Delta State and across the Niger Delta have had. There is never ethnic group that can be compared to the level of marginalization that we have suffered in Isoko land.
The fate of the country is determined at the Federal Executive Council. So if you don't have a representative there, you are left on the sidelines. That is why we are saying that we have been marginalized enough. It is time for us to have a representative at the Federal Executive Council.
Uzere in Isoko South local government area is the second place where oil was discovered in commercial quantity in Nigeria in 1958. And 61 years later, the Isoko Nation is still producing oil and making money for Nigeria. With a population of over 600,000, the Isoko Nation has 2 local governments, Isoko North and Isoko South, with headquarters in Ozoro and Ole, respectively. A peace-loving people who have managed to maintain peace around all its oil installations, they said they should be rewarded instead of being taken for granted, as it is becoming increasingly difficult to contain the youths in the area and restrain them from violent acts.
The narrative today seems to support that argument that the only way to bring the government to the negotiating table is by being violent, is by being, agitative. Anything short of that, government will not listen to you. And that, unfortunately, is the problem of the Isoko nation as it stands today.
We're trained to have deep respect for our elders. So when the elders say, sit down, we're not used to this, we're not used to that, we're not known for this, we're not known for that, the youth listen to us, or they listen to the elders. But now, that respect is being eroded because over the years, they have been telling this youth, the government will look our way. Isoko is not known for fighting. Isoko is not known for violence. But it has not paid. Must people resort to violence before they listen to them?
What leaders in Isoko Nation are asking today is if it is a crime to be peaceful and law-abiding, or have the Isoko people committed any sacrilegious crime against the Nigerian state to warrant the neglect that they currently suffer. To address the marginalization of the Isoko nation, its leaders several months ago visited President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa Aso Rock in Abuja, where they asked him to intervene and reverse the ugly trend against the Isoko people.
If you go to Isoko today, you will weep for them. So for more than 57 years, we don't have anything to show for the oil we have in our land. And we have come to appeal to Mr. President to right the wrong so that some of the projects in our area can be given attention, particularly some of the road projects that were abandoned during the Civil War up to now. And one of them is the Ibide Uzere Road.
The marginalization of the Isoko nation is so overt that even in Delta State, they do not occupy any position of prominence in the executive, legislature, or judiciary. They therefore view a possible appointment of a minister from Isoko extraction by President Buhari as an action that will give them a sense of belonging.
We have a glut of qualified men and women who are suitable for appointment as ministers. There are so many all over the place in Isoko land. We have chartered accountants, we have lawyers, we have medical doctors, we have several PhD holders who are also members of the All Progressive Congress. So if party affiliation or party leaning is any condition, we meet all the requirements to be appointed Minister of the Federal Republic.
The one and only time an Isoko indigene was appointed a minister was on August 6, 1976, when Bernard Mafeni was appointed Federal Commissioner for Agriculture.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Women's participation in decision-making gained more currency at the global level following the declarations of the 1999 Beijing Conference on Women's Rights. In the Niger Delta, several groups have equally understood the need to entrust more women with leadership positions to enable them actualize their potentials as peace builders and constructive change agents. In this report, correspondent SHEKINAH Mefori takes a look at the ongoing efforts to give women a voice in the political leadership of the Niger Delta.
For over 2 decades, the Niger Delta has witnessed instability arising from conflict and insecurity. From its inception, the region's crisis of underdevelopment has been largely fueled by environmental degradation and widespread poverty amongst the local population. In the midst of the prevailing chaos is the near absence of governance structures that allow for popular participation in decision-making at all levels of government. Women in the Niger Delta, like their counterparts in most African societies, are the worst casualties of inequalities in the political, economic and social spheres. Their limited participation in political leadership is in spite of the fact that Nigeria's national gender policy recommends 35% affirmative action for women's participation in governance.
Over time, the women have come to offer a lot in building this nation, and we believe that even as many that will come out, indeed we will be able to make a positive impact in the economy of Nigeria, and we are just asking that they should give us a chance.
The limited number of women occupying elective and appointive positions in the Niger Delta has become a growing concern to many. In trying to address the challenges affecting women's participation in governance, several non-governmental organizations are beginning to build a mass coalition of advocacy groups to advance the cause of women in the Niger Delta. Their strategy also considers the need for capacity building to enable the women take their place in various leadership positions.
How well can women defend democracy? How well can women speak for good governance? But you have to build your capacity. That's the essence of this. We're trying to mentor other women at a grassroots level to see how they can stand firm and be vocal about these vices in the society.
How effectively can we begin to see women in leadership position than deputizing? What stops women to be president? What stops women to be Senate president? So in this case, we are trying to raise women to fit into any structure at all, in governance and in whatever thing we want to look at.
Women in the Niger Delta are hardworking and resourceful, and they dominate the informal sector. They are viewed, therefore, as invaluable assets waiting to be utilized for effective peace building and conflict resolution in the region. In view of their latent capabilities, they are enjoined to strive harder for prominence in the region's political equation.
You see two men fighting for political power. They want to kill themselves. And you think they will hand the power over to you because you're a woman with well-painted mouth? It will not happen. So you have to go through the mills the same way the men are going through the mills. If you're a woman and you're married, you married your husband, you have to convince him that your body is intact, that you will not trade with your body. If you convince your husband that you're not going to trade with your body, your husband will allow you to go into politics because decisions are taken by 2 a.m. And so no husband will want his wife to be there by 2 a.m. if the wife does not have the necessary support.
While state governments in the Niger Delta are expected to create an enabling environment for more women to assume leadership positions, it is also the responsibility of political parties to faithfully implement the 35% affirmative action recommended by the country's national gender policy.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Inside the Niger Delta, NCDMB Associates Port Harcourt River State, in collaboration with SHEKINAH Institute, SANDTON, Johannesburg, South Africa, presents the 10th edition of its annual International Strategic Management and Leadership Retreat, themed Strategies for Building Personal and Organizational Capabilities for Superior All-Time Performance. Date Friday 7th to Wednesday 12th, June 2019. Venue Silver Oak Luxury Apartments, 120, 6th Road, Hyde Park, SANDTON. Workshop fee 950,000 naira to cover workshop participation, resource materials, certificate of participation, accommodation for 5 nights, breakfast inclusive, guided bus tour of Johannesburg and Soweto, visit the Sun City Resort and visa processing. For inquiries about participation, call Chris on 080-332-80242 or call Princess on 080-205-40134. Explore the world. Call now as registration closes on Tuesday, 30th April 2019.
Governor Seriaka Dickson has described the siting of the headquarters of the Nigeria Content Development and Monitoring Board in Yenegoa, the Bayelsa state capital, as a reflection of the aspirations of the people of the Niger Delta seeking increased participation in the oil and gas sector. He made the remark recently while playing host to the House of Representatives Committee on Local Content.
Governor Dickson, while playing host to members of the House of Representatives Committee on Local Content, expressed satisfaction with the level of work done on the 17-story building at the Swali area of Yenegoa, where the headquarters of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board is sited. The governor, who is impressed with the infrastructural facelift the structure gives to the city, is even more excited about the presence of a high-profile federal government agency in Bayelsa State.
We are always delighted when we see federal institutions coming to contribute their quota to the development of our state. Federal government has done well, and all of you have done well for the investment that has gone into the local content. When it is completed, that will be a state-of-the-art building and a structure that will make all of us proud.
In clear demonstration of his satisfaction with the location of the Local Content Monitoring Board in Yenegoa, Governor Dickson was physically present at the Nigerian Oil and Gas Opportunity Fair organized recently by the board. The governor used the opportunity to woo investors while assuring them of a conducive investment climate provided by his government. Governor Dickson was optimistic that with the newly constructed Bayelsa International Airport, the state was fully ready for business.
In the next 2 months, our airport will be up for business, and on every day you will have regular flights, even before you all relocate your headquarters to Bayelsa, as it should be. Before that happens, at least you will have 2 flights every day from both Lagos and Abuja to the great state of Bayelsa.
In February this year, Bayelsa State made history when its newly constructed airport recorded its maiden flight. Described as one of the best in the country, it is designed to serve as a free trade zone not only in the country but also for the Gulf of Guinea. The successful delivery of the airport project is in fulfillment of the governor's promise to expand the revenue base of Bayelsa State. During the recent visit to Governor Dickson, Chairman of the House Committee on Local Content, Emmanuel Okon, observed that the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board was strategically located in Yenegoa to promote local participation in the oil and gas sector. He also pledged his committee's commitment to the completion of the structure housing the board.
We are determined to make sure that that building is completed by the end of this year, completed and commissioned. That building has exhausted how much money that was budgeted for. So what we are doing now is trying to get variation, because when it was awarded, Naira was 160 to $1. Today is 300 and something. So it's going through a little variation, and once that is done, then the building will be completed.
The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board was established by the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act of 2010 with a mandate to promote the development and utilization of local content in the oil and gas industry.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, that's the size of our package. Today's edition of the program, Inside the Niger Delta. The authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back next week, same time on this station. You can also follow us on our social media handles showing on your screen right now. Many thanks for staying tuned, and bye for now.